Hi everybody, you have now welcome to Pouring Over Properties, Vegas locals spill on homes and spirits. It's a whole new podcast, episode 1 coming at you right now, and this is something that we're going to do. We're going to highlight a local beer, local beverage of some sort. We're going to obviously have a couple of them ourselves, and we're going to talk about real estate and how it affects us, how it affects you as a consumer, and really just what's going on locally here in Las Vegas. Take it over, Beau.
Absolutely. So for our first pour over properties, we're going to be going to Lovelady today. It's their Royal Nevada Double Hazy IPA with kiwi. So let's crack them up and let's see how that goes.
Let's go. Cheers.
Cheers.
Sir. We really didn't plan the labels. The green labels might look a little funny on the background. So if we just drink something invisible, just know there's beer there.
Yeah.
Actual beer, Lovelady, and like you said, the Royal Nevada Double Hazy with a little bit of kiwi.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
Do you taste
from
the
the
kiwi?
first?
I mean, it just seems smooth. And
yeah, it does seem smooth. Little summer fresh, maybe.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
All right, it's a 7.5 alcohol by volume, and obviously it's coming in the big can. So picked them up today.
All right, so I just learned a fun fact just live on camera. So this is a part of their homage series. What that means is that in 1955 to 1958, there's actually a casino called the Royal Nevada Casino, and that's where they came up with the name of this beer. So, fun fact, I was not here in 1955, born in 87 here locally, but you know what, I'm still learning as we go. So, cheers to that.
Cheers to that. So today's episode, we're going to actually talk about foreclosures, what a foreclosure is, what the process looks like here in Clark County, some facts as you're seeing more and more things in the news about the foreclosure frenzy, some might call it, when really we know it's just some people manipulating the statistics to make it sound crazier than it is. We both historically know the frenzy was 10, 11 years ago, so we'll get into all that, but we're definitely going to focus on the foreclosure market here in Las Vegas today.
Yeah, get a little more specific because, we hear a lot of generalities, unfortunately, with the news. You hear one snippet, you read one tagline, and you spew it out a few other times, and you don't know how that's actually going to be actually taken in from the consumer. So we're here to clear things up, and really just explain, like, hey, it's actually not bad. It's actually less than what we normally see out there in the foreclosure world. But the first things first, we wanted to go over just, what is a foreclosure? How do you get there? What do you do if it's happening? I feel like those are all questions that a lot of homeowners, some homeowners, might need to know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I get it all the time. People are asking, where's the foreclosures? Let me get a foreclosure. Let me get that deal.
Oh, yes, investors,
Not even investors, just people that have read a book or heard something that's where the deals are. And they don't really know the process of it and exactly how it works. So let's start with, obviously, you know this process. You've worked with a lot of investors. I bought homes at auction, but your house is going under, the bank is going to foreclose on you. How's that process work? Down and dirty, the 90-second skinny on that.
All right, so step 1 is there's going to be something called a notice of default. We're going to reference this as a NOD. So NOD is a notice of default. And this is the first document that you get mailed as a mortgagee in the mail saying that you are late on your payments. And it's going to tell you exactly how late you are on those payments and the actual dollar amount it will take to get caught up on those payments. And that typically happens about 90 days after the late payment, some up to 120. Some banks are a little bit different, but around 90 to 120 days, aka 3 to 4 months of not paying your mortgage, you're going to get a notice in the mail. And it's called a notice of default. And that's going to say exactly what I stated, like, hey, this is your warning. We're here to work with you. Please reach out to us as the bank. We want to make you, stay in this home for as long as possible and keep this loan going.
Okay, so I'm in that situation. I get the notice of default. There's no way I can pay. I lost my job. Some sort of monetary change happened in my life. I don't respond to it. I'm not going to try working with the bank. What happens then?
Well, they're going to send you another notification. Once again, starts with an N, notice of sale, NOS. We're going to refer to this throughout the video. So, notice of sale. This is typically about a month after that notice of default. Every bank, it's up to them when they want to send these letters out.
And how big their backlog is.
Processing, there's backlog. So take a little bit of these time frames. These are probably of the shorter end of the time frame, so it could take a little longer, but also it could be as quick as what I'm saying right now. So notice of sale gets sent to you, and this is a little bit more official. This is actually going to have a date saying when your property is going to go to auction. you might lose your home at that date. It's going to tell you what time. It's also going to tell you one very important factor, and that's what's owed on the note. So a note is a term that we use in the real estate and mortgage industry to say, what's owed on this house? Somebody lended you the money to buy the home.
It's basically what's left on your mortgage.
And now what's left on your mortgage? What's owed on that note?
Yeah.
And that notice of sale will have that dollar amount figure. And that's where a lot of investors, a lot of wholesalers, as we hear that term a lot, that's a number that they care about most because, if you only owe $260 and your property's worth median price is about $420,000 right now. Well, heck, I can maybe offer you $320,000. You walk away with some money. I walk away with some profit in the future. And there are ways that you can get out of such a sticky situation. And that's why having a real estate professional that's local and has investors and has some money, like Beau, is a huge advantage in the real estate market.
Yeah,
Not all cut from the same.
For sure. I mean, that's definitely a different. We'll definitely do a podcast on that. The spectrum of solutions that if you're in a hardship or anything like that. But that is an opportunity for you to really look at your options and work with a real estate professional to, before you get to that point to where you have no other options, find someone help. There's people out there that really do want to help you. Yes, there are some predatory things out there. But like I said, we'll do a podcast on that and you'll be well informed on that.
Well, just like anything, we always get more than one quote. If I'm getting my backyard landscaped, I'm going to have a couple companies come over. Not every real estate agent's going to have the best solution for you personally. So maybe reach out to a Beau and your other buddy and see who has the best solution, who has experience in this sort of avenue. Because trust me, there are ways to get out of it and there's ways to actually make money out of something without getting a foreclosure on your record, which is not something you want. It can stay with you for quite some time.
Yeah. So all right, let's go with the person that doesn't care. They want to get rid of the house. They didn't respond to the NOD. They didn't respond to the NOS. What's that process look like now?
All right. So once the NOS is sent to your house, the notice of sale has now hit your house. They have to publish this auction. They have to publish this sale in a newspaper for 3 consecutive weeks. Now, they don't have to publish this every day in the newspaper for 3 consecutive weeks, just one time every week for 3 consecutive weeks.
Well, and their definition of newspaper is a little different. Everyone that's in Vegas would go, well, I don't see that section in the Review Journal.
What? The RJ? Yeah, it's not the RJ, people. Definitely not the RJ that's going to put...
So it's really the small publication, unless you are in the know you wouldn't know about. It's called Nevada Legal News.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's not.
Nevada Legal News, yeah. Sorry.
But you're not going to find that on the RJ. That's why it's such a little honey hole for people that are in the know of where to find these deals.
Yeah, exactly. So they see these, they see them posted. They're going to have a couple of notations of like when it's going to sell and then what's owed and a few things on that. And that's where a lot of homeowners, they are getting bombarded with people reaching out, saying, hey, I can save this property from you, But really, there's not a lot you can do because the bank, at this point, they're to the end game. They know that they're going to get their money back here in the few weeks, like we're really crunching down this time frame, and it's not something that you want to pursue at that point. So after that 3 weeks of publication in a newspaper, we're going to see it hit that auction block more times than not.
And in Nevada, what the law actually says is the courthouse steps.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, that's the technical definition if you read how the process in Nevada is supposed to work. There's a caveat, though, once again, one of those little sidebar notions that unless you're in the know, you wouldn't know. The courthouse steps is the parking lot of Nevada Legal News.
Parking lot, yeah. Parking lot is a very much well-described situation of what's going on.
I will say, though, because it used to be in the lobby of Nevada Legal News.
When there was nobody there, yes.
Then they moved to the parking lot.
Lots of people showed up.
And then they're very courteous to build a shade structure because it's 10 a.m. every day still, right?
Yes. Well, actually, times do vary. So let's get into like when properties get auctioned off and what times to get auctioned off. So there are actually 2 entities that sell properties down at the auction.
Okay.
And this is something that's not necessarily new. It's actually been going on since at least 2015, and that's when I really started getting my teeth sunk in at the auction. But auction.com came in and kind of, switched things up a little bit. Nevada Legal News used to be the everything
place
when it comes to auctions. They publish the notice of sales. They actually sell the property for you. They auction it off. It's at their place of work. It's everything to do with Nevada Legal News. Well, auction.com came in. They shook things up a little bit and said, hey, we have a national platform. We have technology.
Why limit it to these people?
Exactly. Why are we limiting to just people that get this one news publication, you know? So let's give me some of these properties, some of these default companies. Send me the properties as in auction.com, and we're going to promote them. We're going to get a lot of investors excited about the opportunity to buy.
Now, I'm going to get in the weeds real quick. Is auction.com a CoStar product?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
I can't say yes or no for certain, so that's something I would want to fact check for sure. So,
okay.
Yeah.
But so there's auction.com. That makes sense. I mean, as the selling entity, the bank, the financial institution, they want to get more eyes, more bidders, more.
Makes sense to me.
Because they get they get more exposure. There's a better chance that their assets will sell.
Auction.com. A lot of people. Who has heard of Nevada Legal News? Very little amount of people. I would say out of the 16 or 17,000 realtors, 1,000 of them are familiar.
Oh, yeah, no.
That is a generous number, my friend. That is very generous. So just to let you know, auction.com came in with the thunder, with the power, with that Hershey's brand, if you will,
So I'm going to crush the souls of a lot of new investors right now. When you're going to the auction block for these homes, can I come in with an earnest money and then get some financing?
Oh, no way. No way. These are the riskiest of buys. And why I say that is because you don't have access to them. They're not on the MLS. They're not necessarily vacant. So when they're selling it as an auction, when I sell something at an auction, I expect to get hard cash by the end of that day. And that's exactly the scenario that we're seeing play out down there, is that, yes, you have to show up with not just cash, cashier's checks, which are,
usually in $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 increments.
100 grand,
and they're kind enough to give you your money back if
they'll mail it to you.
If you're over 3 or 4 grand,
weeks. Yeah, no problem. They'll mail it to you. Not a big deal. So you don't show up with $1 million check and just hope for the best. No, that's not a good strategy to take place.
You know what's crazy though about these auctions, and I've heard stories, and I've been involved in some of these situations where if you don't do your research, and they don't tell you, you could buy a second mortgage position in these homes because they're auctioned off as well.
Yeah,
and it doesn't give you access to the home.
Oh, no. You've just bought debt attached to a property. That's not where I want to be. I want to own a property that maybe has some debt on it and resolve that debt and then sell it for a profit. That seems like a more scenario I want to play out. Yes, this is why that me as a marketing executive, for Equity Title of Nevada is this is why I am down at the auction all the time, because if you're not paying your mortgage every month, there's probably a couple other bills you've probably skipped out on.
Yeah, you probably
unfortunately,
yeah,
you might have missed an HOA bill, which is something that we're going to get into in just a few minutes. You might have missed a couple other, Republic services, trash, water. There's so many things that could be attached to these. Not all of them survive a foreclosure, but if you buy, you could be stuck with a bill. It could be 5, could be 10, could be 20 grand, could be a big problem when you're talking about your ROI.
And the number one that will always live with the property is anything attached to the government.
Yeah.
If there's tax liens, they will not die with the new owner.
All right, so I have to actually disagree with that a little bit.
Property tax-wise?
Property taxes always stick with it. So
yeah.
IRS liens.
Yeah. If you owe money on your income, that's a personal thing. But
IRS. This is probably the biggest red flag that people get so scared of is IRS junior tax liens. They hear tax, they hear IRS, they're run away real fast because they're pretty good at taxing us, right?
Well, they're scary. They're a scary entity.
There's 3 little letters I don't like in a row. IRS are at the top of that list. Another one is HOA. So I don't take that for what you want. But with those 2 things said, the IRS junior tax liens actually have a 120-day redemption period, and they fall off after a certain amount. And this is why knowing a title rep, a title company that knows the auction and the auction rules really, really takes an advantage to you as a real estate agent, an investor potentially, is because we know that. We know that the statutes are different in every county. It's not just state-based. It's not federally based. Every county is just a hair different. And that's why working with somebody like me, if you're interested in buying, is definitely going to be an advantage for you.
Well, I mean, you used to set up a pop-up tent. You were there as a resource for everyone that was there.
Yes.
So, I mean, to have someone that was that dedicated to go to the auction every day and be that resource,
yeah,
it's a grind.
It is. I mean, well, what really propelled me down there is that I used to work at a law firm that represented HOAs, the other three letters that I just mentioned, the HOAs. Well, when I got into title and escrow, a lot of HOAs were foreclosing on mortgages. So, you owe a mortgage company $300,000, you owe the HOA $2,000.
Yeah.
But they're foreclosing over $300,000. Yeah, that was such a common occurrence of what's going on.
Well, I think that's a good segue. So we understand the foreclosure process to the basic degree. If you're going to do the process, this video is not your starting point to how to buy a house at foreclosure market. Definitely reach out to a real estate professional, Scott, or something like that.
Exactly.
But we're talking about the HOA liens. So back in the day, it was a big thing here in Clark County, in Nevada as a whole. As you said, you'd have a $300,000 mortgage that was owed, not being paid, but these HOAs got super aggressive with their $1,000, $2,000, let's say $5,000. I mean, to get a $5,000 lien on your HOA, that's a lot.
$200 a month.
That's a long time to get there.
Yeah.
But they were allowed to be what was called a super priority lien, right?
Yep.
That's the correct.
Super priority is what the HOA is owed for the bank to maintain their number one position. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a very common terminology. It sounds crazily confusing because that's legal. Legal is confusing. they call it.
They don't go to law school to make things easy.
They call it language for a reason. It's not because it's English. It's because they use certain terminologies to just throw us off for a loop a little bit. Just throwing it out there. So
what happened? Let's just go. We all know what happened in 2006, 2007, 2008. Boom, crash. We'll go over the numbers of what happened then with foreclosures. But what were these HOAs doing, and then what happened to kind of reverse that? You know that knowledge pretty well.
So yeah, let's shorten this up a little bit. So HOAs were foreclosing on these homes left and right. I mean, we're talking about $1,000 a month plus than that, $1,000 a month of notice of defaults being foreclosed on. Mm-hmm. It was record. It was absolute anomaly. Never going to happen again. And all these mortgage companies were like, wait, whoa. You just sold the home to somebody for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $2,000 even, like really cheap, and I'm owed $300,000 to $400,000.
Seems fair.
And as a bank, guess what they have? They have something called Fannie and Freddie.
That's the government.
That's the government saying, hey, we're going to actually insure these loans, so if you don't get paid back your money, we're going to actually back that up by 75, 78. There's certain percentages behind those, but we're actually going to get you that little bit of money. Well, when Fannie and Freddie found out that they're losing all these potential, gains that they were supposed to have,
and this wasn't across the country. This was a Nevada thing.
Specifically Nevada,
yeah.
Yes. So I mean, yes, I'm sure other lawsuits were being happened elsewhere, but I'm specifically talking about Nevada and Clark County particularly. So this all happened, and they took them to court. Like, hey. The banks took the HOA investors to court saying, hey, this is not legal. Like, they owe me so much more money than what they foreclosed on. And the Supreme Court actually ruled in favor of the banks. Not a huge surprise there.
And I have the support of the government that's backing said loans. So
yeah. Fannie and Freddie, they own the world, right? That's what we all. Fed Reserve is going to win that every time. Just throwing it out there. So with that said, all that took place, and all these people that bought HOAs really are really sad, because now all these $2,000 homes now can get foreclosed on by the bank from 2006, 2007, all those crazy
unless
loans.
They pay the notice of default.
Unless they pay everything to get caught back up. So it's got a little bit of a legal fight on our hands, right? Hey, I own the property, but they say I own the property. Well, guess what? Let's see who can really own the property in the future, because the HOA investor now has a tenant in the property, most likely, because he can't get title insurance. Reason why the title guy is here right now. Can't get title insurance, so I'm going to rent it out. I'm going to rent it out to an individual like Beau, and I'm going to make my $1,500 to $2,000 a month when I only paid $2,000 for a property, and now we're 4, 5, 6, heck, a decade past that time. Well, guess what? I've made pretty good return on my investment. Not to mention this home
is worth more.
It's worth $100,000.
I think I'm willing to pay that.
$450. Like, I will fight. I am gonna fight harder than I ever thought I was gonna fight. I wasn't fighting that hard in 2015 when that other ruling came out, but now I'm gonna start filing frivolous lawsuits. I gotta get weird with things.
But at the end of the day, though, I think that in this little off topic, which is kind of the way I think our pod is going to go. We're going to get off topic because we have these discussions all the time. We've been friends since junior high. Like we go way back.
Fun, baby. Whoop, whoop.
But if I was in one of those investors' shoes that bought a $5,000 home, back in 2015 for, let's say...
Prior to 2015. 2015 is when the ruling came
Yeah,
out.
so 14, right?
Anytime before 15. Yeah.
So you bought it, it has a notice of default for, let's say, $250. If it has a notice of default when I bought it there for $250, in 2023 right now, that home has to be $400,000 or $500,000 minimum.
At least.
Right? Like, I would find a way to pay that notice of default off.
You should, as you should. And that's why having somebody that maybe has some cash in their back.
Yeah. Hard money. I mean, there's ways to get that house, right?
Families, everybody, a lot of people know somebody that might have some money or get qualified
the hard money,
property. Yeah.
Flip the property, get your money out of it. I wouldn't personally waste my time on a lawsuit because you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
I would love to fight the federal government. That's one thing I would never do.
Yeah, I don't want to fight them. Yeah, you would love to. I would run away. Yeah.
Right? Like that's a losing battle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like fighting your wife. You want to do it.
Yes.
It's just not a good idea.
I have never won an argument, even though my facts seem to stand up.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that, I mean, like I said, that's a sidebar conversation. Obviously, these investors should be educated, should have done their research, and hopefully they're doing just that thing.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
you know, I also sell properties all the time that are taken back from investors. So I listed one today. But all right, let's talk about real facts. 2023.
We've talked about a lot about the past. We talked about a lot about like how the hell did we get to where we are today?
Yeah.
You know, so sorry for all that little jargon, but it's valuable information because, like, you know, you got to know the past to know where you can, you know, where the future may hold, you know, and that brings us to today.
Well, and we're both real estate nerds, so we just like talking about it.
I like numbers and we were a little bit of a nerd. I had a bow tie on, so that's pretty evident at that point. So, so foreclosures of 2023. I mean, I don't know about you, but every time I go to YouTube, it's just like foreclosures are up 500%. Foreclosures are up. Oh my gosh, they're foreclosing on the world. Oh, have you heard that next bank just was foreclosed? That's all I read. That's all I see. That's all the clickbait that I'm personally seeing. And when I look at my local numbers, you know, the local numbers here in Las Vegas, Henderson, unincorporated Clark County, and Boulder City, and that's who we're really talking about here, North Las Vegas. Oops, gotta bring them in the game. That's who we're talking about here. It's not the same story that you're really hearing about those overall NAR numbers.
Well, I would agree with that, and I think if you're paying attention to any sort of economics or government, whatever, news, statistics can be manipulated in any way that you want, right? And you see these numbers of foreclosures are up 200, 400, 800%. Yeah, but if you go from 1 to 4, that's 400%.
Oh, wow.
You got to look at the numbers, not the percentage, right? Like, you got to remember during COVID, for 18 months, foreclosures were not allowed to happen. Like,
0.
So when you go from 0 to a 1, I mean, that's a big jump,
yeah,
right?
I mean,
like,
they actually, it's not even calculable.
Yeah.
it's wild.
I mean, I wasn't the best in math, but, you know, I like finance, but, you know, whatever. So I think when we break it down, so we are talking about the numbers as we're getting ready for this podcast and kind of what we want to talk about. So where are we, July 2023, like how many notice of defaults, how many things are going to the auction right now?
All right, so yeah, let's go over some just overall numbers. I'm going to give you this year, I'm going to give you last year, and I'm going to give you what was prior to the pandemic, okay? Just because I feel like we got to get some normalcy in this world, and we're back to that, in fact. So 2023, and these numbers are from January 1st to all the way through June 30th of this year.
So 6 months.
6 months. The first half of the year, and we're going to compare that to the half of the other years. And there have been just under 1,100 notice of defaults filed on properties. And if you take into account a lot of those 2006, 7 HOA sort of loan scenarios, it's going to be a little bit less than that number. But those are included with every number I'm going to stay forward, so you can't really exclude them for this talk. But 1,100 notice of defaults have been filed for this year so far. And out of that 1,100...
So on pace, we're at 2,200 for the year.
2,200,
okay.
Solid. Yeah, I mean, it's weird to say solid after that number, but when you know where it was and you know where it could be, it's actually very normal. It's less than normal, in fact, because I'm going to give you the number of what it was just last year. Last year, the first 6 months, and Beau doesn't even know this number, I don't think we talked about it, was 447.
And that's coming out of the pandemic. That's coming out of banks courts,
values skyrocketing.
Skyrocketing.
You're talking about these mortgages were from anything prior to 2021.
You should be able to sell your house no matter what. Like, you get a notice default, like, oh, I can't make my bill. For sale, sold in a day.
I made
I'm
80
good.
grand sleeping in my house every year for the past 3 years. You know, honestly, like we all pretty much did or close to it. You know, if you don't know that number, you should probably call somebody and find that number out because it's very close.
I do a home equity review, just like you should do on all your finances. It's not to try to sell you. You should know what your home is worth every year because it is your biggest asset. So that you know if something tragic were to happen, some sort of life event happens, where your equity is at.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a huge value, and it's good to know where you have. You know, it gives you some sort of stability in life sometimes. You know, like, you know, groceries a little more expensive, gas a little more expensive. Things are a little bit more expensive than maybe what you were used to because that's what our parents used to say, and that's what we all keep saying, you know, and that's part of life. But it's good to know where you are, you know, in the whole scheme of things. And your home purchase is probably your best investment, especially if you bought in Las Vegas over the past few years because values are up.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the craziness of 10, 11 years ago.
Oh wow. Oh yeah.
Right. So we just talked about 1,100 for 6 months. If we're on this track, 2,200 for the year. What were we doing a month back in the craziness?
Oh, okay. So I'm going to throw out a number from 2013 that just blew my mind just because, you know, when I was looking at some backlog data, I was just like, all right, what's going to stand out? What's going to be a shock factor? Well, in September of 2013, September 2013, so the crash was like 09. Let's just throw that out there. So this is a couple years after banks were so just flooded with foreclosures. Like, nobody knew what to do. Things were just absolute mayhem, as we've seen through The Big Short. We've seen through some filmography throughout the year. Yeah, great movie. Pretty accurate, you know, I'd say overall, and entertaining. But for the most part, we were at, I forgot where I lost my train of thought there.
It was like 1,300 just in the city of Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, so yeah, September 2023, 1,300 notice of defaults in just Las Vegas. So for a lot of people that don't realize, like, there's an unincorporated Clark County,
which is most of what people think Las Vegas is.
Which is mostly Vegas, yeah. So you add those two together, that's basically doubling in size, and then you add Henderson, North Las Vegas, and Boulder City to this
Mesquite,
I just say greater Las Vegas area. Like, it's got to be more than double that number. So we're talking 2,500 to 3,000 notice of defaults
a month
in 1 month, and we just talked about 2,200 for a year. So yeah. Things have not taken a turn for the worst. You know, things are actually just normalizing because let's just fast forward a little bit from 2013. Let's get to like a more normalcy. You know, like, okay,
life
we all wish we bought 100 homes in 2012. Everybody does. But what happened in 2018? Maybe 2019? What was the notice defaults like then? Well, in 2018, for the whole entire year, we're talking about 2,600 notice of defaults. All right, or on pace for 2,200. So,
and well, really, now I don't know the numbers. We probably should have thought of this before, but you know, this Royal Nevada is really spurring up some questions. So from 2018, where we were at 2,600, we're gonna be 2,200 potentially this year.
Yeah.
How many homes and families have moved here in the last 5 years?
Oh man.
So really, like, your percentage base has gone down even further than just where the numbers show.
100%. I mean, how many homes have been built? I mean, we all have seen it and we keep hearing about it. All the new home sales are astronomical because they should be. You know, Vegas is a great place to buy. There's only a finite amount of space that we can build in Las Vegas. Guess what? We have something called the Valley, right?
Yeah, we're in a bowl.
We're surrounded by mountains. They chose this place for a reason, right? So, finite amount of space. So values aren't going to go anywhere. And with sports teams just getting more popular, we get the highest price sales tickets. I mean, we could sell out, you know, Sonny and Cher. I didn't even know they were still alive. Of course, we could sell out the Knights or the NBA franchise that's going to come to Las Vegas. Like,
that's Las not Vegas asking for any public money, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, public funding. We'll talk about that. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, never mind.
But I think those are all facts that I think we need to think about. That when you hear stats and you hear percentages, I think it's something you need to look into or where we were last year, we were lower, obviously 400.
447 compared to 1,100 or so this year. Yeah, that's a little bit more than double. You know, that's where you hear that 225%, 240%. You're going to hear those crazy numbers, which does sound a little
scary, but
But also, it was also the craziest, the best time that we've ever seen in real estate.
And we just lived through a pandemic, right? Like, let's not forget that.
All right, so like, there's like 38 factors that if you want to like count them out, we could get through them in a whole different video. But yes, so many factors go into that, and that's why sitting down with a couple of locals, knowing what's not just happening here in this market, we keep our tabs on what's going on in the national market. You know, we have a lot of FAs. You know, we have a lot of people we talk to on a day-to-day basis, consumers, title people, lenders. This is what we do, and this is why I think there's valuable information that's going to come your way.
Absolutely. So I think that was a lot of great information about foreclosures. We talked about the process. We talked about the whole HOA versus federal government fight, which obviously we knew who won that one.
Easy wins.
And then we definitely talked about the fact that don't let stats scare you, that we're not, your next door neighbor and everyone else you know is not going to be foreclosed on. It's a very minute number in the total number of transactions that happen throughout Las Vegas Valley as a whole. Obviously, you guys may or may not know, we do a great monthly market update, and you can see how many homes sell compared to the foreclosure rate. It's not even comparable. So
I mean, and just to piggyback off what he just said right there, so this is a stat that blew my mind the first time I saw it, and I just have to regurgitate it because it's just nuts. So back in 2005 and 2006, you know, the heyday of real estate where like new homes were selling, everything's selling, everybody's buying 7 homes. Well, how many new homes close every month? That's like everybody says, oh, new homes are everywhere. I see signs everywhere I go. Well, that sign only built 48 homes. It's they didn't build like a 7,000.
Yeah, the sign cost them $800 to put up.
They didn't build Anthem Country Club, you know, like it's a little tiny little guy. It's a totally different market in that regard. And just to have that numbers be in comparison is that back in 2006, in I want to say November or December of 2006, there were over 4,000 new homes closed in 1 month. New homes closed in 1 month. Last month, how many single-family homes did we sell? Oh, check out the video we did last month, and you can find out. But it's less than that number, let me tell you. I guarantee you it's going to be less than that number, and that's just new home data that I threw out. It is a shocking factor, so it's a different market than what we were in.
Absolutely. Well, I think the best way to round out this first podcast of ours is talk about the Royal Nevada Double Hazy IPA with Kiwi from Lovelady Brewery in Henderson, Nevada.
How'd they come up with the name, Lovelady?
I don't know. Do you know?
It's their last name.
Oh, that's right.
I would have never guessed it. I always thought it was just like a fun name. It's got a cool little, symbol. It's got the Cupid shooting the arrow.
They can't see it because I messed up and it's the green thing.
Oh,
but
the green can did that again. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put it in the back.
It's okay. But either way, cool little logo. I had no idea. It was actually their last names. It was 2 twins came up with this concept when they were. It's Vegas, right? 17 years old. Okay, we can say it. They came up with not the concept of Lovelady, but just brewing beer at that rightful age of 17 years old. So I guess we'll cheers to that. And I hope to see you guys again sometime.
What would you think about the beer?
Oh, the beer? I thought it was going to be a little sweet. Not the biggest double IPA guy because, you can get that, like, sticky IPA.
Or the hops.
It just sticks. It sticks with you. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I could taste it for a couple of days. It's almost like a cigar that's not worth the money. This actually kind of did not taste that way at all. It was very smooth, kind of like a summer IPA.
This is a very summery, citrusy, I didn't get much kiwi.
Kiwi, I feel like just cut out the hops because this is like a summer IPA. If you want to sound badass and also not get that drunk, I feel like this is your jam.
But you will get drunk because it's 7.5.
All right, I don't do math. I'm a numbers guy, but I'm not a scientist.
So this is one of those dangerous IPAs. You're like, oh, this is really good, and then 2 in, you're like, I don't know what happened last night.
Just like those seltzers, damn it.
Hey, well, we thank you guys so much for joining us on our first podcast of Pouring Over Properties. I had a great time. Scott, thanks so much for being here.
Always a good time, Beau.
Can't wait for number 2.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cheers.
Cheers.